For my leader presentation, I'm going to discuss Sheryl Sandberg. Sheryl Sandberg was born August 28, 1969, in Washington, D.C. She was the oldest of 3 children. She moved to Miami, Florida at age 2. Her parents describe her as a precocious child who was always at the top of her class. She liked to boss around her siblings and organize neighborhood kids into clubs and organizations. Her parents describe her as a born leader. Sandberg graduated 9th in her class from high school in 1987, and she attended Harvard College and graduated with a BA in economics in 1991. During her time at Harvard, she co-founded the organization called Women in Economics and Government. She met then Harvard professor Larry Summers, who would become her mentor and thesis advisor. In 1993, Sandberg enrolled at Harvard Business School, and in 1995, she earned an MBA with the highest distinction. Before attending graduate school after completing her BA in economics, Sandberg worked at the World Bank as a research assistant for Larry Summers, her previous instructor at Harvard. There, she studied health projects in India dealing with leprosy, AIDS, and blindness. After graduating from business school at Harvard, she worked as a management consultant for McKinsey & Company from 1995 to 1996. From there, she worked again for Larry Summers, who was serving as Secretary of the Treasury under Bill Clinton. She assisted on many projects during that time, such as forgiving debt in the developing world during the Asian financial crisis. In 2001, she joined Google Incorporated, serving as Vice President of Global Online Sales and Operations. Under her leadership, Google became a multi-million-dollar company. At a Christmas party in 2007, Sandberg met Mark Zuckerberg, co-founder and CEO of Facebook. In March of 2008, after many discussions, Facebook announced Sandberg as the new Chief Operating Officer. Sandberg began trying to make Facebook more than a really cool site and produce profitability like she had at Google. Sandberg suggested discrete advertising. By 2010, the Facebook became profitable. In 2012, she became the 8th member of the Facebook Board of Directors and the first woman on the board. She currently serves on the boards of Facebook, the Walt Disney Company, Women for Women International, and the Center for Global Development. She is also a previous board member of Starbucks and the Ad Council. She is currently ranked on Fortune's list of the 50 most powerful women in business and as one of Time Magazine's most influential people. Sandberg currently is widowed and lives in Northern California with her 2 children. In December 2010, Sandberg gave an infamous TED Talk titled, "Why We Have Too Few Women Leaders." Sandberg addressed how women unintentionally hold themselves back in their careers. Sandberg's talk has been viewed more than 2 million times. This led her to co-write Lean In, Women Work, and the Will to Lead. Published in March of 2011, this memoir would go on to sell over 1 million copies and top the bestseller list for over a year. Lean In not only examines the societal obstacles women face, but also the internal barriers women create themselves. This is the cover of Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, Women Work, and the Will to Lead. In Lean In, Sandberg combines data, compelling research, and personal experience to discuss how women can have rewarding careers and personal fulfillment. She builds on some topics from the infamous TED Talk of 2010, encouraging women to sit at the table, seek challenge, and take risks in their career. She addresses improving self-esteem, demanding more of our partners, and not holding ourselves to unattainable standards. Sandberg continues to address the question she addressed in her TED Talk, where are the women leaders? Sandberg opens her book with some hard data. Of the 195 independent countries in the world at the time the book was written, 17 were led by women. women hold just 22% of the parliament seats globally. In the 1980s, women became over 50% of college graduates in the United States. And while women are earning more degrees and entering fields previously dominated by men, the women at the top of corporate America have barely budged in over a decade. Women are only 23 of the S&P's 500 CEOs, only hold 25% of senior executive positions, 19% of board seats, and constitute only 19% of our elected officials in the United States. One of the infamous questions Sheryl Sandberg addresses in her book is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Sandberg writes, fear is at the root of so many of the barriers women face. Fear of not being liked, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of drawing negative attention, fear of overreaching, fear of being judged, fear of failure. But Sandberg goes on to write that without fear, women can work towards and attain their goals. They can work towards a fulfilling career. Taking risk is what Sandberg is encouraging women to do. How Sandberg answers her own question is that by writing Lean In, that's what she did when she let go of her fears. Sandberg also encourages women to sit at the table. What she means by this is she recounts an encounter she had while at Facebook, where during a meeting, women staffers sat in chairs at the side of the room, away from the conference table. These qualified women, who were valued members of the group, seemed like spectators because of their seating choice. Sandberg uses this example to demonstrate how internal barriers and insecurities can alter women's behaviors and hold them back professionally. She goes on to write, many women, when praised for their accomplishments, feel undeserving, guilty, and even fraudulent. She goes on to coin this feeling the imposter syndrome. Sandberg explains that for women to continue to grow and challenge themselves professionally and personally, they must believe in their own abilities and sit at the table. Sandberg describes careers as not a ladder, but a jungle gym. She writes, ladders are limiting. One can go up or down or get on or off. Jungle gyms offer more creative exploration. There's only one way to get to the top of a ladder, but many ways to get to the top of a jungle gym. The ability to forge a unique path with occasional dips, detours, and even dead ends presents a better chance for fulfillment. Sandberg goes on to describe her own career in this manner. She encourages women to forge their own path and not wait for power to be offered. Advocating for oneself is paramount for success. In Lean In, Sandberg dedicates a chapter to having a mentor. How do you develop a mentor? How do you find a mentor? And she actually equates these questions with a modern-day fairy tale. Sandberg writes, women are told if they can just find the right mentor, they will be pushed up the ladder and whisked away to the corner office to live happily ever after there. She also writes, instead of telling women to get a mentor and they will excel, we need to tell them excel and you will get a mentor. An overall theme of Lean In is how women sometimes sabotage their own career. One example of this is the idea of leaving your job before you leave. Sandberg discusses how before women are actually wanting to take a step back from work, often to be mothers, many small decisions are made which hold them back professionally. Essentially, they leave the workplace before they're ready to leave. She writes, so the irony, and to me the tragedy, is that women wind up leaving the workforce precisely because of the things they did to stay in the workforce. With the best of intentions, they end up in a job that is less fulfilling and less engaging. After they finally have a child, the choice for those who have one is between becoming a stay-at-home parent or returning to a less than appealing professional situation. Sandberg goes on to write, if women choose to stay in the workplace after getting married or having children, they need to demand having an equal partner. She quotes some great data that when women and men are both employed full-time outside of the home, the mother still does 40% more childcare and 30% more housework than the father. Sandberg claims we need to encourage men to lean into their families. Women are more likely to do a majority of not only childcare, but also taking care of parents and in-laws as they age. Sandberg believes having men as equal partners, women can engage in their careers without the guilt of less care for their children. She also states, we need to live in a world where men do half, women let them do half, and being a parent's not a full-time job for a woman and just a part-time job for a man. In Lean In, Sandberg also weighs in on the infamous question for working women. Can we have it all? Can we do it all? Sandberg's answer is no. No one can have it all. Sandberg writes choices must be made, whether you work inside or outside the home, whether you are a mother or not. What Sandberg encourages is setting obtainable goals. Instead of perfection, women should aim for sustainable and fulfilling lives. Sandberg writes, the right question is not, can I do it all, but can I do what's most important for me and my family? She suggests there is no secret, but just doing the best you can with what you have at the time. Sandberg closes her book with the idea of just talking about the subject. She states in her TED Talk and in Lean In that she was discouraged by many of her colleagues, men and women, about talking about gender. But she believes by talking about this once taboo subject in business, women can not only achieve more equality in leadership positions, but also achieve more personal fulfillment. Lean In definitely changes the conversation from one of what women can't do to one which opens the forum of what they can do. Sandberg's work isn't without criticism. Some have criticized her for referring to her work as elitist and excluding working women who have no other choice but to work. Sandberg's work really focuses on women who must choose between being a stay-at-home mom and a working mom. But many women in American society today do not have that choice. Some believe Sandberg focuses too much on blaming women, who are really the victims in a patriarchal society. But Sandberg herself rebutes these criticisms, stating by having more choices in positions of power, choices and freedom will be made more available to all women. I believe that Sandberg's work is definitely applicable in healthcare. Although nursing is a predominantly female profession, healthcare leadership and hospital administration is not predominantly female. Sandberg's advice and recommendations work for women and men to help women have fulfilling careers within healthcare and find personal empowerment in nursing leadership. This quote from Sheryl Sandberg is from her first TED Talk in 2010, and I think it really sums up her work nicely. Sheryl said, "A truly equal world would be one where women ran half our countries and companies, and men ran half our homes."